So yeah, absolutely it's dysfunctional. When you don't even want to listen to someone who is trying to help you to move in a good, positive direction, you're darn right. It's goddamn dysfunction. That needs to change. So yeah, absolutely it's dysfunctional. When you don't even want to listen to someone who is trying to help you to move in a good, positive direction, you're darn right. It's goddamn dysfunction. That needs to change. So yeah, absolutely it's dysfunctional. When you don't even want to listen to someone who is trying to help you to move in a good, positive direction, you're darn right. It's goddamn dysfunction. That needs to change. The company's called Solar Hawks LLC down in Houston, and they believe that they can save us $9.3 million over the next 25 years. I submitted that to the doggone board, and what happened with it? The president of the company was, after he bought his ticket to come here and present it, was told, don't come.
So Pompeo, he says there's near unanimous agreement with the perception that the board is dysfunctional, with Calhoun and O'Neill offering the most impassioned responses. Near unanimous agreement. I mean, wasn't Charlotte just saying that it was unanimous when she had 3 people, right? We have a unanimous decision. So a Macaluso consensus. She said, oh, we got a consensus. And all she needed was, not everybody. She needed just 3 people on the school board since there's 5 members. And then that left Kenneth O'Neill on the oust. He's in the corner. Charlotte Macaluso's not happy with you, Kenneth O'Neill. She's going to sit you in the corner. And then she's going to run against you. She's going to put out public statements when you criticize her. It's like she can't be criticized. She can't. Nobody can criticize Charlotte Macaluso. Well, Charlotte Macaluso, there's a Macaluso consensus that you're corrupt.
Our next question, Taylor. Some would argue that the public perception of the current school board is one of dysfunction. Would you agree with that perception? If so, how would you address it?
I would agree with that perception. I've met with a lot of people in the community, a lot of parents, a lot of teachers, a lot of administration, and I haven't seen consistency. And to me, because the reason that it's like that is that the doors of communication are not open. We're not transparent, we're not communicating enough, and I think we have to involve all stakeholders at every single level. And we really have to get the input from everybody in the community and everybody in the district, because nobody is on the same page. And to me, that is evidence of dysfunction. And I think for us to do that, we really have to communicate better. And we have to make that a priority.
Woo!
Dottie, same question.
Well, as one of the people that is in the public and has kids in the school, the perception is definitely one of dysfunction. You have people that appoint superintendents that she was the sole candidate. That's a bit dysfunctional. As far as what to do about it, my goal is to get rid of the people that are on the board right now and put new and innovative people on it, because they've done a lot to damage the reputation of Pueblo and the perception of Pueblo, and that dysfunction cannot continue to go on. That good old boy network cannot continue to go on. So yes, I think that we need to just scrap the board and start from scratch.
Woo!
Kenneth, same question.
Well, I'm on the board, and I can...
Sorry.
I agree with you.
Kenneth O'Neill crushed it last night. He crushed it at the school board meeting. He is the establishment. He's the anti-establishment establishment. The establishment picked him. They selected him. So we know he's smart, he's capable, professional. We know he knows what he's doing, he's qualified. He's been, helping them run shit for the past, 4 or 5 months? So we know he could do the damn job. And up until now, things are fine, but now that he has to run for office, the school board should just, stay out of the race, just be neutral. Be humble, Charlotte Macaluso. Just be humble, because now you have a Macaluso consensus that says that your school board is dysfunctional. and there was Calhoun, Dottie Calhoun, and Kenneth O'Neill, and there was Taylor Voss. Taylor Voss said it was dysfunctional. I think Dennis Mays said so when it comes to Constance Jones. I'm not for sure what Margaret Wright said. She was the quietest voice on the board. She was trying to be nice to the current board, and I think that kind of put her, she's out of touch right now. So Margaret Wright is out of touch with the pulse of Pueblo City, because it's 4 out of 5 at the Macaluso consensus that Charlotte Macaluso is dysfunctional. Her school board is dysfunctional. So let me correct that. Well, I guess it's that's something about her character. So she can't be questioned. She's the only tyrant in the entire world. Everybody shut up and listen to what she said. But he's a soldier with integrity. He's seen combat 7 times, and he's just supposed to sit down and shut up. He's just supposed to sit there. He's a school board member, which is it's the legislative branch, a co-equal legislative branch. They're the student advocate.
Can save us $9.3 million over the next 25 years. I submitted that to the doggone board, and what happened with it? The president of the company was, after he bought his ticket to come in and present it, was told, don't come. That's the kind of thing that happens on this board. That's the type of dysfunction that happens on this board. So yeah, absolutely it's dysfunctional. When you don't even want to listen to someone who is trying to help you to move in a good, positive direction, you're darn right. It's goddamn dysfunction. That needs to change.
So I think that Kenneth O'Neill had beat out Dennis Mays 5 months ago. He's on the school board now, but he just got on the school board, so he's been working with them. And then since they're kind of putting him in the corner, now he has to do what he's got to do, right? They forced his hand like that. They booted him out, and they treated him like crap, so he has to run against the establishment. So even though Frank Latino and Bobby Gonzalez picked Kenneth O'Neill, they pushed to have Kenneth O'Neill on the ballot. They said that his distinguished service as an Army combat veteran, this is Latino, his work both as a nurse and in education, a strong commitment to school safety and awareness of issues associated with mental health and athletic background as reasons worthy of a seat on the board. So that means Bobby Gonzalez and Frank Latino approved Kenneth O'Neill. So Kenneth O'Neill is Bobby Gonzalez and Frank Latino approved. The establishment picked him. He became the 5th member of the board.
I have to say that I'm a little bit kind of mesmerized by your comments because you're saying are new to me in terms of how the board is functioning. For instance, you're mentioning that you brought something to them and they did not listen. So those kinds of things I'm not aware about. I don't think that that is best practice. I think that we have to bring all the ideas to the table. In order for us to do a better job, we have to critically look at how we're doing what we're doing.
First, though, to be honest with you, it was probably hard, right? I think there was 5 people. I think Dennis Mays ran against him, and then he's all pissed off because they didn't pick him. So he's like, I'm qualified. Why didn't you pick me, right? I got my damn names on the judicial building, and you're going to look over me? How dare you? So there might be, they seem to get along, but they didn't shake each other's hand, I don't think, right afterwards. They sat right next to each other. It didn't come to blows. He's very nice, right? I mean, he almost seems gay in a way. His voice is very just like, okay, guys, listen, okay, and so he's a black man, and typically racism comes from the fear of black people and black bodies. That's my theory. But so they're like, oh, my God, it's a black man. Holy shit, what is going on? And then he says, hey, guys, and it's like, oh, hey, man, what's going on? Easy to get along with, easy to talk to. He's responsive to the community. He's the only one that...
Dennis, same question.
I guess I'm curious, and I would respectfully request for Mr. O'Neill to provide the date of that particular discussion concerning the solar issues. And the reason I say that is that it appears to me, when we talk about dysfunction, that there are things that come before the public that seem to have appeared to have been discussed by the board, but not in a public meeting, which is a violation of the open meetings law. So I guess if in fact those kinds of discussions are going on, and I know Mr. O'Neill also mentioned that he proposed a 11-page or a 21-page proposal to the board, I don't recall anything being reported about those things. And so my question is, are these things being discussed outside the presence of the public in a meeting other than a public meeting? I believe this board has been dysfunctional since the day they fired Dr. Constance Jones, lied about it, and never gave this community any rational explanation as to why she had to leave after she was improving the schools here in Pueblo.
Woo!
That wraps up the question and answer portion of the program, so we'll now go to...
Neil's the only person that's in favor of democracy and able for me to have I want my kids to have a freedom and democracy kind of education. And so if you're not for freedom and democracy, I don't even really know what you're doing running for any public position in America, to be honest with you, let alone, you know, the school, the education. And education does touch basically everything, right? God, we are forming and fashioning our kids in those schools. So what are we creating? A bunch of savages, a bunch of heathens, a bunch of gangsters, a bunch of ignorant-ass savages who don't know shit. Yeah, good fucking job, D60. So he beat out Dennis Mays. I think this might be some kind of personal, but I don't know. They seem to get along. So I think Dennis Mays could just be an old man who wants to, stand up. I will give Dennis Mays this credit that he started the criticism of Constance Jones. When he actually entered the race, he just came basically like storming like a bull, and he's got the
Every single board member needs to be responsible and accountable to the constituency, to every single person here, every person that walks up to you. We should never be off limits. We are you.
Yeah.
A couple of months ago, I sat right there. I'm no different. So absolutely, I completely disagree with having any distance between us and the public. You cannot solve an issue if you don't know where the issue is, if you're not talking about it, if you're not face-to-face with somebody finding out what their issues are. You can't do anything about it. So absolutely, we need to be amongst our people doing what we need to be doing to solve these issues and getting help from them. Hey, what do you think the issue is? Hey, what do you think the answer is? I may not know it, but hey, I may listen to you and get a spark and get an idea, and together we may solve those issues. So absolutely, absolutely. The answers reside right here with the people.
Softcore racism wouldn't be that they're consciously racist or that they hate blacks. In fact, they very much could, say that blacks deserve their day in the sun. But I would say that there are some, sort of living out in the country kind of racist folks living out in the country town with few to zero blacks to speak of racist. So they identify black folks as different. They're the other. And they haven't had any interactions with black folks. They've been told black folks is a certain way. Then they go to talk, or say hi, and we're, a dog-eat-dog society, so nobody really says hi to each other anyways. So what I'm saying is I think that there's a lot of old-ass racists around here, and then I also think that there's some soft-core, haven't been around too many black folks racists, too. They've never talked to a black person. They've never been around a black person to talk to. So just by their circumstances, by whatever reason, they're born in a town.
The schools belong to the taxpayers. I intend to speak for 16,500 individuals, most of them too young to vote. Those are our students. I'm going to speak my piece when I think it should be spoken, and I will respect the common courtesy rules of governance in terms of when to speak out and when not. But I am not going to be told that I cannot speak up on a particular issue because it may be different than something that one of the other board members, or as a matter of fact, the other 4 board members believe. So, in interest of transparency and gaining the respect and integrity of this particular community, we need to be able to speak out on what we see as the actual issues and not as what someone else thinks the actual issues are.
That's my point. Well, just this, Kenneth O'Neill, he kicked ass. He definitely beat everybody in the debate. He kicked ass. He was number 1. His voice was important. He's the member of the establishment, so he knows what's going on. The establishment had chose him since he's got to get the people's vote. He spoke out. He criticized about the not nurses giving drugs to your kids, which he is correct about. he's right about that, and it was very thoughtful, interesting criticism, but apparently you can't even criticize Charlotte Macaluso, which is why she lost her job. Charlotte Macaluso got fired yesterday because it was a Macaluso consensus. Her administration is dysfunctional. It's dysfunctional. Only one applicant for the superintendent, only one applicant. I mean, that's like the police chief, right? So there was no competition. There was no discussion. They were hand-picked successor. Whoever did some, they said, you're going to be the one who succeeds. Nobody else challenged it. They got to be boss.
Margaret, same question.
Yes, I know there are times because of legal matters that we will not be able to, as a board, to give the public all the details by law, and that I'm sure you're aware of. But I think in order to involve you as one of our stakeholders, in order for you to feel like you're a part of what we're doing, we're going to have to speak to you. We're going to have to, as a board, to let you know our vision, where we see ourselves going in the community. We're going to have to let you know the trends that are happening so that we can prepare to meet those demands. So I see that we work together as a team, and as a team, we're going to have integrity so we do what's right, and we do have that opportunity to speak to the community as needed.
Macaluso was also the principal of Risley Middle School, one of the middle schools, I think it was Risley, and it's absolute dog shit. Like, their numbers are tanking. It's one of the failing schools that had been taken over by the state. So her principalship was dog shit. She don't know what she's doing when it comes to being a principal. Perhaps she could have done a good job as superintendent. Maybe they might give her another year, but she ran a dysfunctional school board. She ran a dysfunctional school board that wasn't inclusive of the public, that didn't allow the school board members to talk to the press. They were tight-lipped. They were, essentially a little tiny union, little family, and she was like the king, and she wrapped them all around and said, don't you, talk to the damn press. Hires Kenneth O'Neill for whatever reason, and apparently he worked well with them, so he was a good, worker bee with Charlotte Macaluso, but since his campaign, since he had to publicly criticize them, she had to publicly criticize them back, so now it's on like donkey.
They've done a lot to damage the reputation of Pueblo and the perception of Pueblo, and that dysfunction cannot continue to go on. That good old boy network cannot continue to go on. So yes, I think that we need to just scrap the board and start from scratch.
Woo! Charlotte Macaluso is toast. She's the head of that dysfunctional school board. So, no. She's gone. That's a Macaluso consensus. 3 people, Taylor Voss, Dottie Calhoun, and Kenneth O'Neill, and Dennis Mays. And I have no idea what Margaret Wright believes, but 4 out of 5 of the candidates says that Charlotte Macaluso's school board is dysfunctional. She doesn't know how to work with others. It's not democracy. She doesn't recognize the school board as a separate co-equal branch that has equal power to her. She wants to dominate over it like a god, like Joyce fucking Bales did 17 years ago, 2000 to 2006. The Republican right-winger from Tennessee, Joyce fucking Bales. So Latino called the opportunity to appoint a historical occasion. They were being inclusive and diverse, and now they're actually doing it.
They've done a lot to damage the reputation of Pueblo and the perception of Pueblo, and that dysfunction cannot continue to go on. That good old boy network cannot continue to go on. So yes, I think that we need to just scrap the board and start from scratch.
Background about Kenneth O'Neill. He was born on an Army base in Fort Lewis in Washington State, right up there by Oregon. He had 7 combat tours. He was a doctor, but that means he's like the one in the field without, I guess he's got guns and stuff, but he's not looking to shoot. He's looking to fix whoever has fallen, but I guess he's a soldier until one of them falls. So Kenneth O'Neill is a chairman of the USA Track and Field Colorado Men's and Women's Division, and he's a member of Team USA. He's earned a bronze medal in the World Masters Athletic Championship for the United States in November 2016. in Australia. He won a silver and bronze medal in the 2017 USA Track and Field Masters Indoor National Championships and ranked in the top 10 in the nation in his primary events for the last 2 consecutive years. He is working on a citywide track and field championship currently with the Pillars. Proud member of the Pillars of Unity. He's a proud Pueblo resident. He's responsive. You have any questions whatsoever for Kenneth O'Neill, just give him a call at 719-510-1600. That's on the school board website, so I think that would be his school office phone number if they still allow him to have an office, which they should. So Bobby Gonzalez, Frank Latino, he did kind of criticize you all last night, but don't get your feelings hurt when he gets the seat. When he wins, I'm sure he'll be able to work with you all. But, just as the school board, step back. Let them run their race. Let them run their campaign. You know the work that you've done. You know who you are. So, you don't need to correct the record until afterwards. Maybe just say, hey, I'm really appalled by the things that people are saying. You're the establishment. They're going to run against you. So Dottie Calhoun said, we need to scrap them all.
Dottie, a spin-off of that question. Speaking of innovation, would it make sense for the board to not have a president, but instead merely rotate the duty of managing board meetings?
I think that'd be a great idea. Right now, it seems that the person that's the president resides over the rest of the board. And as a parent, looking in on these meetings and looking in at the school board, I don't appreciate it. I don't appreciate the fact that one person is the sole speaker for all of them. And I know that the board gets to speak, but quite frankly, it needs to rotate. We need to have somebody different every once in a while that has that voice to speak up. So, absolutely, because I want to be president. I think everybody up here would like to be president of the board someday. And this will give us all an opportunity to do that.
Woo!
Taylor, same question.
I don't think it's necessary for us to have to rotate people every single meeting. I think what we do have to do is build a culture where every single board member, not just the president, feels that they can provide their perspective and that they can share their ideas. And to me, that's not even a question. That culture should not be there. And if we, as the board, people on the school board, are the bridge to the community, every single one of those people has to be accessible. They have to be able to hear the community's ideas. And I don't think we can just limit that to one person as the board president.
I think Dennis Mays is inevitable, but I also think he's the front runner. So if I was running against him, I would be criticizing him just because I know that he's the front runner. But since I'm not running and I'm a citizen, and I could actually take a step back and say, well, I can't tell if he's really progressive or not. So I can't tell. He's a nice man, and he can be nice at least. But I can't tell. I don't know what his policies actually, his policy ideals are. If he doesn't believe in democracy, I don't think he believes in democracy in the classroom. Neither does Taylor Voss, neither does Margaret Wright, and neither does Dottie Calhoun. Yes or no? You believe in democracy? Oh, you don't say nothing, you'll respond later? Okay, that means no. All right, so I understand. But, I want my kids to have a freedom and democracy kind of education. So let's look at the demographics of Pueblo City. So you have 76% who's white. 76% is white in Pueblo City. 2.41%.
I'm sorry, Margaret, same question.
I think Pueblo has a lot of resources and a lot of organizations that are helping in the community. So if we go back to the whole concept of PTA or community meetings, then we can identify where those need areas are. And I'd like to see us be able to use the other stakeholders to come together to help meet their needs. For instance, right now I'm working with Judge Eiley with the Truancy Improvement Project, and at the table we have someone from DSS, we have someone from Health Solutions, we have me as an education advocate, we have someone from other entities, and we meet with the family, we meet with the teachers, the students, and we talk about what the issues are, and then the different ones at the table come together and provide the resources. I think we can multiply that and use that model to help meet the need in the community.
76.21% is white, 2.41% is African American, 1.73% is Native American, 0.67% is Asian, 0.06% Pacific Islander, 15.2% from other races, 3.71% from 2 or more races. Oh, that is Whoa, that's kind of crazy, right? So whites are 76%, 15 is other, 15 is other, so that's weird. And then it says later on that 44% is Latino, so these numbers are a mess, right? I would think the other would probably be Latino, and then 44% is Latino, so that would mean that 56% is not Latino, so that's not possible that 76% is white. 44% is Latino, 56% is not Latino, which is 56-44. It's kind of close to 50-50, but, you know, it's still a 12-point spread. But whites are the majority. White people.
Did the district do a disservice to convert schools to Corwin and Fountain to specialty schools and bus neighborhood children to faraway schools?
Well, I think they did a great service by combining Corwin and Fountain because they were struggling. And now they're one of the two middle schools, especially middle school, that people want their children to go to. Unfortunately, the other middle school is in D70, and we don't get a chance to see how they work. So I think they could have done that. Busing kids to other schools, well, it's an open campus where we have our open enrollment. So unless they're going there against their will, their parents have a choice as to where they can go.
6% white, 2% black, 44% Latino. That means there's crossover, right? At least 10% is white Latino or Latino white. Latinos make up 44.13% of the population. So I felt like it was kind of like a 50-50, like an even balance. And that's the, you know, there's some racial harmony here because it's, you know, closer to 50-50. But whites are still the majority. In 2000, the whites identified their ancestry as 10% German. Hey, what's up, 10% German whites? I'm out of, you know, Germany before Germany became a country, but 8% Italian, 6% American. Okay, 5.5% English, and then 5.4% Irish. So overall, 56% white, 44% Latino, 2% black. 2% black. Where's all?
So yeah, absolutely, it's dysfunctional. When you don't even want to listen to someone who is trying to help you to move in a good, positive direction, you're darn right. It's goddamn dysfunction. That needs to change. So yeah, absolutely, it's dysfunctional. When you don't even want to listen to someone who is trying to help you to move in a good, positive direction, you're darn right. It's goddamn dysfunction. That needs to change. So yeah, absolutely, it's dysfunctional. When you don't even want to listen to someone who is trying to help you to move in a good, positive direction, you're darn right. It's goddamn dysfunction. That needs to change.
Where did all the black people go? Why is there no black folks here? There's, you know, 2%. So yeah, they're here and there. But when it comes to Kenneth O'Neill, he had ran for city council, I think, 2 years ago. Essentially, it's a culture shock. So it's, you know, 2% black. I would say all the old people, both Hispanic and white, are, you know, fucking anti-black racist assholes. But when it comes to Kenneth O'Neill, he's a black man. He's soft-spoken. He was a nurse in the Army. He's athletic. He's nice. He's kind. So, what, you know, cognitive dissonance. What you see in the media, what your grandparents told you is not the case here. This is like an Obama person, right? An Obama black. So they haven't seen many black folks around here. It's only 2%. Not much, maybe here and there, but 2%.
I do think that we do need to close some schools. We have a decreasing enrollment, and that's a very hard decision to make. I know it's something that would be extremely unpopular in the community, but the fact of the matter is we have a lot of schools that are 50% full. And I think we would be better off moving those kids to a different school and combining resources rather than trying to continue keeping up a school that's only 50% full. As far as places where a new school would be needed, I'm not really sure where that would be, and that's something I need to look into more and educate myself a little bit more. But I think we may have to close some schools in the future, even though that's a tough decision to be made.
I disagree with the schools having to be closed. Unless they combine two of the smaller schools together, our classrooms are already overcrowded. Our teachers have too many kids in their classroom, and it's very, very hard for them to teach. as you can see, I'm all about the kids, and what I want for them is to be able to learn. An overcrowded classroom does not make for good education. And I believe that, yes, we need to figure out a way to save money, but it cannot be to where we just close a school and then force them to another school where the teachers actually have to have a bigger classroom. The teachers already have to deal with so much with so little. Their resources are very, very limited, and we have to find a way to make everybody get the best education they can. And I just don't think that closing schools right off the bat is a great idea.
Only a few black folks here. It just makes me wonder what the fuck happened. Why is that the case? Why is that the case? And the way the Germans and the Irish had got adopted into the white community was by hating the black man. That's how, when they, come in the 1800s. And so a lot of them, not all of them, definitely the Irish. I don't know about the Germans as much. Half of the Germans, and then the other half were okay. So, but the Germans and the Irish, they are weird themselves. They weren't white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant. They didn't speak English. They spoke a different language. They had different customs, dressed a different way. And then they, drank alcohol on Sundays. They were smarter and stronger than the general white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. But I would say here in Pueblo City, there's a shit ton of racist, hardcore racists like the grandparents. And then I would say that there's a real soft-core racism. Just basically people they haven't got used to black people. They haven't talked to black people. They think of black people as different.
Kenneth, same question.
Absolutely, we do. We are going to need to close. As a matter of fact, I came up with an SPSS-based formula on which schools need to be closed because we cannot kick this can down the road indefinitely. We get paid $7,800 per student from the state. Okay? When you look at how much we're getting per student and the maintenance cost, our schools are old. The average age of the schools in our district right now is 51 years old. So it's costing more every single year to keep that building just in operation, whereas we're losing money because we're losing students every single year. So we're getting less money to go into the school, but the school is costing us more every single year. There is absolutely no way to keep going at this same pace. It's not going to work. Right now, we've got $40 million worth of damages to our schools. $40 million right now. There is absolutely no way we're going to get $40 million. It's not going to materialize out of thin air. So we're going to have to, at some point, even though it's a difficult decision, a person must have the backbone to make those difficult decisions. I'm in favor of that. So yeah, absolutely it's dysfunctional. When you don't even want to listen to someone who is trying to help you to move in a good, positive direction, you're darn right. It's doggone dysfunction. That needs to change and save us $9.3 million over the next 25 years. I submitted that to the doggone board, and what happened with it? The president of the company was, after he bought his ticket to come in and present it, was told, don't come. That's the kind of thing that happens on this board. That's the type of dysfunction that happens on this board. So yeah, absolutely it's dysfunctional. When you don't even want to listen to someone who is trying to help you to move in a good, positive direction, you're darn right. It's doggone dysfunction. That needs to change.
.21% is white, 2.41% is African American, 1.73% is Native American, 0.67% is Asian, 0.06% Pacific Islander, 15.2% from other races, 3.71% from two or more races. Oh, that is, whoa, that's kind of crazy, right? So whites are 76%, 15 is other, so that's weird. And then it says later on that 44% is Latino. So these numbers are a mess, right? I would think the other would probably be Latino, and then 44% is Latino, so that would mean that 56% is not Latino, so that's not possible that 76% is white. 44% is Latino, 56% is not Latino, which is 56-44. It's kind of close to 50-50, but, it's still a 12-point spread. But whites are the majority. White people.
They've done a lot to damage the reputation of Pueblo and the perception of Pueblo, and that dysfunction cannot continue to go on. That good old boy network cannot continue to go on. So yes, I think that we need to just scrap the board and start from scratch.
Dennis, a spin-off of that question. A blue ribbon panel comprised of such leaders as former State Senator Abel Tapia conducted a facilities report, but nothing came of it. Should the district dust off that report or convene a new study group?
I don't think it's necessary to convene another group. I know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about the facilities master plan that I think was submitted to the board sometime in 2016. And it is my understanding from talking to members of the panel that it was just put on the back shelf. As a matter of fact, a number of them were disappointed that it was not given much consideration at all. That goes to my issue about community involvement and respecting and appreciating the hard work that these individuals do. Absolutely, it should be looked at. There's no need to go back and spend whatever the dollar amount was, $40,000 or so, I can't remember exactly, for that report. And now, perhaps even more money to update that report.